Are screens stealing our children's childhood? On Toddler TV Trap, we share real stories from parents whose children showed autism-like symptoms after being introduced to screen time and the transformations they saw when the screens were taken away. I'm Andreina, and together we're going to listen to Allison's story, a mom of a 4-year-old boy stationed in Canada. Allison, welcome. I'm excited to have you here. It is our first time meeting finally virtually and sharing your story. And I know we're both a bit nervous, which it's okay. It's a taboo topic, but I would love to just dive right in. So you have a 4-year-old boy.
His name is Nicholas.
What made you want to introduce screen time, or how did you go about starting the introduction to screen time for your son?
As a new mom, you have to keep the baby distracted and everything. It's like, okay, you know what, I'll just, have the baby watch some, tablet, like iPad or something, distract them to get stuff done around the house. Or I, I was thinking, oh, he's going to learn young if I introduce him to this, and he'll start learning his ABCs young, his numbers young, animals young. Yeah, I learned that didn't work.
And I get that because a lot of parents, and I myself did that at the beginning, where you need to cook, you need to
Yeah.
do something in the house, and realistically, we need them to stay still for their own safety. But you're saying that now you realize
Yeah.
that's not true. So what is it that happened after you introduced screen time that you started to notice that you're saying it's not true?
I had heard of autism and then I started researching into it. And then I started noticing that, hey, he's showing signs of autism. I had spoken to my husband about it. My husband was like, oh, it's too early, and I said, well, you know what, let's see how it goes. And then they just kind of kept coming. And I was like, okay. And I went to the doctor a few times. At first, he was like, no, he's fine, he's fine. And then the last time that I went to him and I was like, okay, this is going on. Like there were certain things happening at daycare and he wasn't like this was around the age, he was the age of 2 and he wasn't really saying any words. And he was like, okay, yeah, now we need to see a pediatrician. All the concern and all the symptoms were there. So it was just like, you know what? I need to get him checked.
So what symptoms were you seeing in him that made you think autism?
No eye contact. He was stimming, like doing like the hand flapping, lining up toys or items. He used to like grab the water bottles and he would like line them up. It was really
Mhm.
funny. Behavioral issues, severe tantrums and meltdowns. They were almost like every day,
And
like
were they
practically
usually when
every
you took
day.
away the tablet, or it was just in general?
Both.
Okay.
He wasn't pointing to objects. He wasn't responding to his name. He was having aggression at the daycare that he was at. He didn't play really with the other kids too much, kind of kept more to himself. He wasn't saying very many words at all. No pretend play. He didn't
Mhm.
like change. So like, I'll give you an example. So like, I would change him from like summer shoes to winter shoes, and he would just, no, no,
Like a
no. Like he was just
sensory.
kind of, yeah. He wasn't waving hi or goodbye or anything like that.
And he was, at this time, he was 2 years old.
Yeah, yeah. And at this time, when all this was going, my husband and I sat down, and he was like, "Okay," he's like, "I agree with you. Let's go get him looked at." And so we both just said, "Okay, let's do this." And yeah, my family doctor referred me to a pediatrician.
So at this point, when you and your husband finally decide, let's do this, let's get that referral, or let's get that diagnosis, you still didn't think it was screen time, or did you start making those connections?
I didn't actually. No, I was just like thinking, like, could this be a possibility? Because I do have a younger sibling that does have disabilities. And also my mother as well. So it was kind of like it didn't dawn on me until after I saw the pediatrician. So I went and saw him, and he had immediately said he believed he had it because of the interaction. Like Nicholas didn't look at him, didn't even pay attention to him, wasn't responding to him. He told me, he said, I do believe he has it. And then I was supposed to go back and see him, but all of a sudden one night I was just laying in bed and I come across this TikTok video about virtual autism. I wish I could find it because the doctor was amazing. And he started talking about the effects of virtual autism and how kids that are under between the ages of 0 to 3
Hmm.
start to mimic signs of autism when exposed to excessive amount of screen time.
Yes.
And I'm not going to lie, there were some days my son would be on the tablet all day. I'm watching this video and he talks about the symptoms, and like quite a few of them were on the list that I said. Started talking about what you can do to reverse the symptoms kind of thing. So I was like, I can't believe this. So I researched into it and I went nuts. Like I went on all kinds of websites and I'm like, oh my God, this is real. I went to my husband and I'm telling him all of this. And he's just like, he was just as floored as I was. And I said to him, like, maybe we should try this detox. Let's give it a
Mhm.
shot. He was 100% supportive. He's like, yeah, he's like, let's do it. If it'll benefit him and it'll help him, then why not? Right.
I wanted to kind of go back to the video that you mentioned. You had looked at it yourself, and that's the information that you looked at as a parent. So, how did that video, that one video on TikTok, change your family's trajectory and just in general? How did that change life for you guys, that one video?
So I almost feel like it's a blessing from God because it's like if I feel like if I hadn't caught it at that age and if I had caught on to this now, this would be a completely different story, right? It's like the younger they are, it's easier to do the detox versus when, at this age, they would be exposed to it like screens for so long that it would be a lot harder to do this. I'm glad that I caught it at that age I did. I really am because I feel like that made a huge difference.
And you're right, it absolutely does because a lot of times what parents don't know is the ages of 0 to 3 are the silent learners, what some researchers call it, where yeah, your child is 0 to 3 years old and you think that there's not a lot going on because they can't really talk to you, but that is the most critical age for brain development. That is the time that their brain is making the most connections and catching things in that age of 0 to 3 does make it a lot easier to implement changes and to kind of rewire the brain. And I say it all the time, 0 to 3 should be screen free. And if it's not, then try to push for changes to happen before the age of 5. After 5 and after children's brains have fully developed, it does get a lot harder. So it's so important what you said of being able to catch that yourself and being able to intervene at the time that you did. You said that you saw the video on TikTok. I'm assuming you probably saw Dr. Andrew Dolan's video just because he's one of those people who has posted about this before. But the screen time aspect, a lot of people say that their child was getting screen time or that their child was not getting screen time. What did you define as screen time? Just because everybody kind of has a different definition of what screen time is. So for you, what did that mean?
He was on his iPad constantly.
Okay, so like intended media, it was him using the iPad. What were some of the shows that he was watching? Because I know we always think educational, and I think that's the difficult part for parents where we think, we're giving them educational TV, but how do we know it truly is educational? So I know you had mentioned that you were sharing with him like nursery rhymes, but what other things were being shared?
He really gravitated to Baby Shark.
It's repetitive, so I get it. Okay, so back to you guys
Yeah.
decide to start the detox. What were those first couple of weeks or first couple of days like? Were there any challenges, meltdowns? Did you see the screen withdrawal detox happening?
Because we were just lessening it every single day and not letting him be on it for that long. Because he was even at the point he wouldn't even eat without a screen in front of him. So we would just every day take it away and take more and more time away. Yeah, and then within a month, I actually started noticing
Wow.
changes.
In a month. What were the first things that you noticed? I know the eating part is so hard because I have a child, I have a son, and he is food sensitive. He's very picky eater. And I always think of those parents that tell me, oh, well, the only way I could get him to eat was with the iPad. I get it because I would love if my son could eat different things, but at this point, we're just like, well, let him have it in his due time. But and what were the first symptoms that you noticed that diminished or that went away or disappeared within that first month? Because you said you saw improvements.
Eye contact was the first thing. He never gave hugs and kisses before. All of a sudden, out of the blue, he just started giving hugs and kisses. So that was amazing. We started noticing that his tantrums and his meltdowns weren't as frequent and they weren't as bad. They had
Wow.
calmed down a lot. There was no more stimming. He was playing properly with toys. And he just, started being silly. And my son's adorable. I don't know what else to say.
I can't imagine how that must have felt like for you when you first started to see those changes and that connection with you. Was there anything else that you did besides just remove the screens?
Well, my husband and I actually did this together. So when he's home with me and my husband's working and I'm on my days off, I started doing different activities with him. I went online and I started thinking, okay, what can I do with him? So At that time, I started teaching him about painting because he would do like little paintings at daycare and stuff. So I started
Hmm.
adding that at home. Just doing different activities at home to keep him busy. My husband, what he does, they play all day long. Like they're running back and forth in the house. It's summer now, so we have a swimming pool. So, taking him outside. He takes him to the park. He's teaching my son how to like do like chores outside. And my son thinks it's like the greatest thing, the riding lawnmower, the lawnmower. And then my husband started reading comic books with him. He'll just have him sit on his lap and he'll sit there and he would start reading to him. And we noticed how much that even helped because my son, he's a ball of energy. But the one thing we noticed is that you couldn't get him to sit and read a book. Now, my son will go and he'll grab a book and he'll come to me and he'll go, Mommy,
Oh,
read the
I
book.
love that. I love that. It's a taboo topic, I know that for sure. So when you first started to see the research or you started to inform yourself about the research related to screen time and its connection to autism, I'm curious as to how that made you feel because everything that the most of the general population knows is autism is genetic, which we do know it has strong genetic factors, but there's also environmental components that a lot of people are not aware of. So as a parent who knew to that point that autism is genetic, how did you feel of reading this research and starting to validate it for yourself because you implemented it?
I'm thinking like, am I crazy? Like, is this real? Is this actually something real? In between this time, so like I had switched pediatricians. By the second end of the second month, I had gotten the appointment with the second pediatrician, and I love her. She's amazing. And my went in there and I said, okay, I'm like, I need to ask you something. I said, have you heard of virtual autism? And she's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, so I'm not crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's like, no, you're not crazy. She's like, it's not an actual official medical diagnosis or
Right.
anything like that. But she said, I know exactly what you're talking about. After the first appointment, she already said to me, she's like, I don't believe he has it. She's like, but I want to continue to see him to obviously, monitor
And
more.
track.
But like yeah, it was like the way he interacted with her, he was pointing to things and everything. And yeah, so it was like knowing that even a pediatrician is backing me up on this made me feel amazing.
I'm glad that you got a second opinion just because I'm not sure about how the process is in Canada, and maybe I'll ask you a little bit about that. But in America, at least my experience, so my son was born prematurely. He was born at 28 weeks, and he obviously is delayed in some milestones because he was born so prematurely. And it was a very quick meeting that I had with a nurse practitioner, and she's like, "Oh, mom, you might want to start considering an autism diagnosis." And I looked at her, I'm like, why? And she's like, oh, he's behind in his milestones. And then I said, right, he was born at 28 weeks. He's 3 months premature. Did you look at his chart? And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I must have missed that. Never mind. But it was just like that within seconds saying, oh, we should consider an autism diagnosis. So, how does that go about in Canada to get that diagnosis? What's that process like?
Honestly, all I know is that like my family doctor, I went to him, expressed concerns. He referred me over to the pediatrician, and it's all done through a pediatrician, at least from my experience. Like they have like we had several multiple meetings with this pediatrician, and she would interact with him, see how he was doing, and then that's how I think. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Like I only know what my experience was.
Right, exactly. So, were there ever any regressions or any time during that screen detox where you're like, I can't do this, there's tantrums, or was it smooth for you?
For the most part, honestly, it was good. He's been really great. The one thing I notice is that if we introduce the iPad at all, because there was a point where there was nothing, and then we're like, okay, he's getting a little bit older. We'll let him watch a little bit here, a little bit there. But we noticed that if he watched it for too long, like maybe more than 20 minutes, that's when I know he would kind of regress back and his behavior would change. He would start to have tantrums. Even now, it's still the same thing. Like we were away on vacation recently at my aunt's trailer, and I brought my PlayStation for us to watch movies and stuff while we were there. And I let him watch YouTube specifically.
Mhm.
He loves to watch tractor videos. He's obsessed with tractors. That's his number one favorite toy. So I let him watch it for about an hour, not even realizing it had been that amount of time. And all of a sudden, it was like a switch went off and his behavior just completely changed and he was having tantrums. He didn't want to listen. It was a rough day. And, so then the next day I didn't let him have any TV time, nothing. He basically, that was the only day really he had any like screen time.
Hmm.
And so we went to the pool, we went to the beach, we were, having an amazing day going for walks. And my aunt just kind of looks at me. She's like, wow, what a difference from yesterday. And I was like, Tia, you know why? I'm like, because no TV time, no YouTube. I'm like, that's why.
It's so validating when your family starts to see the changes as well, because I'm sure you probably thought they're going to think I'm crazy. But as a mother, you have that instinct and you know what's best for your child. And it's just so validating when you start to see your families also seeing the changes in your child that you're seeing. And how was your family with that backup of making sure that they weren't doing screen time or using screen time with your son?
Our families were 110% supportive on both sides. They were really great about everything. And now, like my best friend and my stepmom, I was talking to them both yesterday, and they both said how much they've even noticed the changes in him. The eye contact was the big thing, and how like how he'll just like run up to you and go hi, and how sociable he is now, and everything. So yeah.
I know eye contact is a big goal for many families that I've worked with their child that either has autism symptoms or is diagnosed autistic and they're going through that screen detox. I know eye contact is a major thing. Was there anything specific that you did to encourage that eye contact, or it was just simply you removed the iPad and he started to notice more things around him?
A little bit of both. But it's like we took it and then we noticed it started getting better. And then the one thing that I learned in the research is the interaction part, is taking away the screen and doing more
Yep.
interaction one-on-one. So with both my husband and myself, with that one-on-one interaction, and because like I would do activities with him, I would sit there and we would do Play-Doh and we'd make pretend cookies and pretend we're eating them. And then my husband, again, like I said, reading the comic books and like, he's reading and then he's like looking at him like, oh, who's this? Or this is so and so and this is so and so. That's what we did.
Yeah, what you're talking about is joint attention. It's what it's called, where you are increasing the amount of time that your child and yourself are paying attention together to something, which is a great way to build that secure attachment where your child feels securely attached to you enough to be able to reach out to you if they're having those tantrums or just in general, the connection that is being rebuilt with families. Because I know that that's one thing that I hear often too, that families feel the connection improved with their child. And I can see it in your face that your connection with your son is great, and I'm assuming it's improved a lot ever since the iPad removal. Is he still off of screens?
So for the most part, yeah. I mean, once in a while, like we'll let him like, I may let him watch things on my phone, but it's
Mhm.
only like in certain instances. He does watch TV, but not even that much. And the thing is with TV, it's like he'll watch like 5 minutes of it, then he's like, I'm bored, I want to go play. So he'll kind of go in and out, but he's more focused on playing than anything. It's when if we allowed him to watch YouTube on the TV, then he's like straight like zoned focused into it. He loves to watch tractors and he all of a sudden he's obsessed with Bowser. So that's when I notice he like really zones into it. But if we let him do it, which is not often, no more than 20 minutes. And he's pretty good when it comes to like shutting it off because
Mhm.
so we have like a switch on our wall that turns off the TV. So this was like the week before last. I was letting him watch his tractor videos, and it was like 20, 25 minutes at most. And then I was like, okay, baby, I'm like, time to say goodnight, tractors. So I turned it off, and he goes, good night, tractors. Bye bye, tractors.
That's
That was it.
adorable.
Yeah,
And you
like
you
never.
had mentioned the speech also, that there was a not loss of language, but there's like a regression a bit. Has his speech changed? I hear you saying that he says good night tractor, so I'm assuming that he's improved a lot.
Oh my God, I can't even tell you how much he's improved. So he's in speech therapy. He has been for pretty much since I saw the first pediatrician.
Hmm.
And then he's also in daycare. He's in a home daycare, and I'm so blessed to have her. She's incredible. They love him like he's their own. So she's a mom of three boys. Her middle son and my son are actually like this. They love to play together. and he's in school. So I find that I even said to her, like, I think that her son has helped my son in regards to his speech.
Hmm.
Um, because now he's saying, like, he's finally saying 3 and 5 word sentences. He started
Wow.
saying, I love you very much. Oh, that made me, my husband just melt into pieces.
Oh,
Um, so, and he goes, I ride tractor with daddy. Me and daddy go swimming.
that's a whole
Mommy,
conversation.
he's like, when we're driving home, I go, Mommy, go see Titus and Nessa. That's my dogs. And like all of a sudden this just started coming out, and he's
Hmm.
so um there's still that conversational piece, but you can tell he's getting better.
Right. Okay. I mean, it sounds like there's been immense improvement, which you would see when you remove screen time, because that is one of the major things that happens in children who have too much screen time. It's the loss of either loss of language or regression in language or just delay in language, but that's one of the number one things that occurs. So you're a parent who actually went in and read the research yourself. What are some things that you found when you were reading this research that you feel other parents need to know?
That age from 0 to 3, how much screens affect kids, like that, I
Yeah.
think is incredibly important, that no kid should be exposed to screen time before the age of 3, especially after what I've learned. Reading about like what you can do and what removing the screen time will start to do and how quick you'll notice it. Like when I originally researched, they said that I would start seeing a difference probably within 6 months.
Yeah.
And one of the websites that I read, and mine was within a month,
And I think
right?
that, yeah, you're saying exactly it, that there's a difference that you see between some of these kids because you're absolutely right. When people ask me for screen detox, I say 6 months because that's what the research is saying. But for other children, like your son is a perfect example. You saw changes within 1 month. So I assume that you were just elated when you started to see those changes at a faster rate.
Oh yeah, my husband and I were just we were floored, and we were like so happy that we had made this decision together, and we were just so proud of him and how much he was already starting to change, and especially like it's been a year and a half that we've been doing this, and
Wow.
just how how much he's developed, he can count to 40. He knows all of his ABCs. He knows different planets. He knows all the dinosaurs. He knows all the colors. He's learning all the Mario characters. He'll look at it. He loves airplanes too. So when he sees one, he'll go, Mommy, look, airplane, and he'll point to it. He's just we're so proud of him, and honestly ourselves, that
Yes.
we made this decision and we did what was right for our child, because we love him so much. Like he's our world. So all we want is what's best for him.
And you should be proud of yourselves because it is, and especially in the age and the world that we live in now where everything is digital. I mean, even going to the doctor, you have to check in on a tablet. You should be proud of
Yeah.
yourselves because I know 100% how difficult it must be to live screen free in a digital world where everything is a screen. So I 100% commend you for that. I know that it is difficult. I know that it takes a lot of grit, especially if you have a child. I know your son didn't, but if there's parents who have children who might go through those tantrums, it's hard. I understand how it can be hard. And especially when
Don't
you
get me
don't know
wrong.
it. Go for it.
Sorry, I said don't get me wrong. He still has tantrums. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
They will for the
I,
rest of their life have tantrums.
yeah, but I mean, it's not like it's only once in a while he'll have those really, really big tantrums. Like it's very once in a while.
Mhm.
But the ones that if he does have one, it's nothing compared to what they used to be.
Which it's true, and we also see that in the literature that there is behavior issues when it comes to children who have a lot of screen time. It messes with that reward and dopamine section of the brain, which earlier you had said something about a switch going off when he was reintroduced to screen time. And I'm sure that now you've seen the literature and you saw how there is the neuron growth in the brain that can be rewired. And when people say the switch, I'm like, oh, they're using the perfect words because that's exactly what's going on in the brain. We're switching on and off certain parts of the brain when that screen time is, I'm going to say activated, but when that screen time is used or activated, it is switching parts of the brain. And you learned everything you know about screen time through the research that you did. Did a doctor, a pediatrician, did any person that is related to child development anyone ever talk to you about screen time and your child?
Just the pediatrician that I'm dealing with now. Um, like she said, whatever, basically what she said is whatever you did, all the research that you're doing, like whatever you're doing, you're doing the right thing. She said keep going because obviously what you're doing is working. And then we just had our last appointment with her in July, and
Mhm.
she was like, yeah, no, he doesn't have it. She even said her exact words, screens are dangerous for kids.
Props to your pediatrician for telling you that you're doing the right thing and validating your thoughts about it. I just think it's so interesting that it's not something that's talked about as a milestone. Like we talk about feeding milestones, we talk about developmental milestones, we talk about vaccine milestones, but we're never told about screen time milestones or what is appropriate screen time until we go out there and research it ourselves. So that's why I think there's such a taboo or just such confusion around the topic. Do you feel like now, after all this research, you are able to either understand the development better, or as a parent, you feel more empowered to know the choices for your child? Like, what has all this knowledge done for you as a parent?
Empowerment. That's exactly the right word. I feel empowered to talk to people about this. And it's interesting because I've started to open up more about it because I actually started telling people about this podcast that I was doing with you. And like people just look at me and they're like, I've never heard of that. Oh, that's the
Wow.
first time I've ever heard of anything like that. So it's so empowering to know that I can bring it up and I can talk to people about it and say, hey, do your research, look this up because this is real.
And you're doing amazing because there is not a lot of advocacy on this topic. And when there is advocacy, like you said, you're thought to be crazy. Because you're a parent who went through it, what would you tell a parent who is going through this, but they may not know that they're going through it? Because I can understand going up to a parent and saying, hey, maybe your child's not autistic and you're just giving them too much screen time. I can see how that would come off as disruptive, sorry. And I can see how that would cause a parent to obviously put up their guard or put up their protectors of like, don't talk to me about my child. So, as a parent who went through it with the knowledge that you have, how would you have liked for someone to approach you to tell you about this topic without feeling like they're offending you?
I mean, yeah, I probably would have took offense if someone said to me, oh, there's too much, it's just the kid watching too much screens. Um, Honestly, I don't know because like it was just the fact that I came across it on my own. So I feel like even if someone came to me and said anything, I probably wouldn't listen because I am stubborn. Uh, so the fact that I kind of did it on my own, I think was what really hit it because, it's not somebody else telling me, it's me figuring it out.
I could see that. I'm also very stubborn, so I feel like I would have reacted the same way if someone told me. So I can see that happening where it's just your own experience and your own research going into it that helped you understand and validate your own thoughts. But now that you have this information and that you've talked to other people about it, how do you feel when you do that? Do you still feel as if you were that parent who's receiving that information where you're like, maybe I shouldn't jump on and talk about this? Or how do you feel?
I'm feeling more confident as the days go by to talk more about it. Um, and it's kind of interesting with some of the conversations I've had with people because it's like, they're like, you know what? My niece watches a lot of screen time, or my
Mhm.
nephew watches a lot, or this and that. And they're thinking to themselves, maybe you're right.
Mm.
Hmm. And I just say, try it,
Yep.
give it a shot. That's what I did. I saw these videos, I did the research, and I gave it a shot, and it worked. Maybe what works for me can work for you, or your grandson, or your niece, or your son, or your daughter. Like try. There's nothing wrong with just giving it a try.
I agree. But what
For the most part, it was smooth sailing. I mean, just because of the way we transitioned the
Mhm.
iPad away from him. So, and as we were transitioning the iPad, we're doing the interaction
Right.
in between. So as we're doing this, we're playing with him in this way. As we're doing this, we're playing with him in this way. So it's like, so it was pretty good. But I mean, there were times where like, okay, we were like, okay, time to take the iPad away, and then he would have a tantrum, right? So it wasn't perfect. Like, of course, we ran into our issues of, him crying because we're taking the iPad away and stuff like that, right? Because he'll be watching something and then it's like, okay, baby, time to go. And he's just like holding on to like the phone or the iPad, and he's like, no.
I love that you say that you're doing it together because I think that's so important and something that in the busy world of parenting that we have where most households have to have two parents working and we obviously have to come home and we have to cook dinner and we have to do all these things. We sometimes I admit it, we sometimes tend to forget that we need to involve our child in these things that we're doing because that's a part of what their real world is going to look like in the future. They're going to have to do these things too. So I understand how it's so much easier to do things without the toddler in the way, but sometimes parenting is not easy and it's the truth and it sucks because some of us don't have that village that you need of support. But I'm so glad that you had that village of support and that you had your family able to help you and be a part of the screen detox. And just for the listeners out there, this isn't saying that screen time causes autism. It's saying that maybe possibly there is a connection or maybe we need a new diagnosis because if something is mimicking autism, it doesn't mean it truly is autism. And that's something that's worth looking into because how do we truly know if our child was born autistic or if they're having symptoms because of screen? And really, the only way to know that would be to remove screen time because that's the way that we're going to see the changes in a child. And at the end of the day, all parents just want the best for their child. And it's our responsibility to just look into that information that's out there. I mean, Google is free, knowledge is free. You don't have to pay someone a course to learn more about your child. It is out there for any parent to just discover on their own.
Like, I am glad that I came across this. I really am.
As a parent, you have that gut feeling, and sometimes you have that gut feeling that you know that something is disrupting your child, but you're not sure what it is, and it's up to you, yeah, to go into that gut feeling and really dive into what it is that's happening. And honestly, if today's for the listeners, if today's story, Allison's story, has inspired you, then share this episode with a parent, a caregiver, an educator, someone who needs to hear it because screen time is not talked about enough as it should be because it's such an integrated part of our lives that we just don't even notice it anymore. But with a screen detox journey, it's you see this changes. And I'm so happy for your son and for your family that you guys were able to see this early on to make those changes and get your child's development back on track and be at the age that they're supposed to be because a lot of families I see it where they remove the screens a little too late and it's been 2, 3 years and their child is obviously caught up, but there still are some delays in their development. Hopefully somebody sees your story on the internet and it makes them question and wonder.
I hope so. Like, all I want to do is take this and have it inspire people. There's nothing negative behind it. This is coming from my heart because of everything I experienced with my son. So I really hope that this opens people's eyes as well, right?
I hope so, and I hope that we're able to have those conversations without the aspect of us that as a parent we are protective, but and at the end of the day, nobody likes to be given parenting advice. And this isn't parenting advice. This is just sharing information on research that is out there, connecting autism symptoms or traits to children, not saying it is autism, but just connecting those traits to children that maybe we're not born autistic. And if they were, that is perfectly fine as well. The research also says that removing screen time for autistic children is great for their development. So, in a nutshell, we should just remove screen time because like the name of this podcast, it is trapping toddlers in their own minds and removing that creativity that is so needed for development. And I'm honestly just so thankful for having you.
When I came across your Instagram page and I saw that post, I was like, she's absolutely bang on. And I had to reach out to you and say, like, hey, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I'm just going through this, or I'm just finished, like kind of finishing going through it because he's developing so quickly. So I was just like, I thought it was great that someone's finally like putting it out there. So and meeting you and everything, like this is so cool. And it's like when I told my husband about that I was going to do the podcast, he was so supportive. He's like, babe, do it. By all means, he's like, I support you 100%. Like, that's amazing. He's like, I'm so proud of you. And it just like I feel so good like talking about this, and I hope that people take this in a positive light, because I can't even tell you. My little boy has grown so much. He loves to sing. He's always singing. Like that was another thing that kind of came out of it, right? Like he's always singing and he's just constantly happy. And it's just like, I can't explain how these changes made such a difference in his life.
Allison, thank you so much for coming on here and taking the time out of your busy week as a mom and your busy life as a mom to come on here and share your story. And I just want to say I'm truly thankful, and I hope that when one story comes out, we can have a movement and share more and more stories because this is valuable information and experiences are valuable, and yours has been extremely valuable to share with listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allison.